What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be breaking down the Toughness perk, and I'm going to show you a few of the tests that I did with the Toughness perk, and then I'm going to share my opinion on whether or not I feel Toughness is a needed perk, because in previous games like Black Ops 2 and Ghosts, Toughness or Focus in Ghosts was pretty much a needed perk. If you didn't have it, you were putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. So at the end of the video, I'll share my opinion on Toughness in Advanced Warfare. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so let's hop into it, but before we do, I just want to mention that the gameplay in the background, I am not using Toughness in this gameplay, and I'm using the ASM-1 submachine gun. So that's just one thing to keep in mind as you're watching the gameplay, just sort of pay attention to how much of a role Toughness would play in these gunfights. So first, we'll actually get away from the gameplay a little bit, and I'll show you the test results that I found. So I'm just going to show you a few images of the flinch that I found at different ranges using an assault rifle and then a submachine gun. So first we have the BAL, and this is at sort of a longer range. It's not necessarily too long for the BAL, but this is one of the longer ranges that you would typically challenge with an assault rifle. And as you can see, the top screen is with Toughness and the bottom screen is without Toughness. So with Toughness, you actually flinch just to about the enemy's eye level at this range, whereas if you do not have Toughness, you will be flinching pretty far over their head. Next, we have more of a close range shot, and as you can see with Toughness, you barely even move at all on the enemy character's body because that enemy character's body is that much closer to you. And without Toughness, you actually flinch to actually right around their chin level. You don't even flinch up to their head level, so you're not going to be kicked over their head, assuming you're aiming kind of middle of the body and not upper chest. And normally that's where I aim, is middle of the body, but some of you guys may be a little bit different. Alright, so now let's move on to an SMG test, and I just want to point out, I didn't mention this already, with these tests, the gun that you're seeing that we're flinching with is also the gun that they're being shot with. So for the previous one, it was the BAL, and I was actually being shot by the BAL at the same time, whereas in this test, it's the KF5, and I'm being shot by the KF5 on the other end. And it does make a difference because the more damage that a bullet does, the more flinch it will cause. But I wanted to keep things sort of consistent, so it's an assault rifle against an assault rifle versus an SMG against an SMG. So now that I've explained that, this is an SMG at a longer range, and this is actually a range that is so long for an SMG that I wouldn't even challenge this gunfight, so I wouldn't worry about this range too much. But as you can see, this time it kind of got flipped around. The top screen is without Toughness, and the bottom screen is with Toughness. So with Toughness, you don't flinch too much. You're still pretty much on target at that range. But without Toughness, you're just over top of the enemy's head. As for a closer range, and this is a range that I would try to keep my gunfights in, this is like the perfect SMG range in my opinion. Maybe you could take even a few steps back or a few steps forward, but right around here is right where you want to be with an SMG. And as you can see, without Toughness, you flinch pretty much to his chin, and with Toughness, you flinch pretty much to his chin again. It's hardly noticeable at this range. It's very, very close. Alright, so that's the testing that I did, but testing isn't everything, especially when it comes down to using Toughness or not using Toughness. A lot of it comes down to personal feel as well. So I did play a lot of time without Toughness. I really wanted to put this to the test, so I kind of struggled through and didn't use Toughness for, I don't know, quite a few hours actually. I think I spent about 3 hours not using Toughness at all, and I found a few results with this based on feel as well as looking at my tests. So what I found was if I'm using an assault rifle and I'm trying to pick people off at a distance and I'm challenging gunfights at a longer range, Toughness was very, very valuable. If I was pushing a little bit more to the mid-ranges with an assault rifle, it wasn't so bad, but I did lose a couple of gunfights that I felt I would have won had I had Toughness. And then once I got to the closer range, I felt as if I would have won that gunfight regardless of Toughness, or whether or not I had Toughness on. Or I would have lost that gunfight whether or not I would have had Toughness on. So I found like it made almost no difference at close range. It made a little bit of a difference at mid-range, and it made a fairly big difference at a longer range if my enemy was shooting back at me. As for the SMGs, I found that in every situation that I would be comfortable challenging an enemy with an SMG, Toughness was not going to be very helpful for me. If he was at a range that was far enough away that Toughness would be kicking me over his head, or the lack of Toughness would make me kick over his head, then that wasn't a gunfight I wanted to challenge anyway. That was beyond the range that I would want to challenge an enemy with an SMG. So in that effective SMG range, I found Toughness really wasn't all that useful, and I almost feel as if it's a waste of a perk. So that's just my opinion on it. I think if you're using an assault rifle at long range, you should still stick with toughness, but if you're rushing around a little bit more and you're trying to get into the enemy's face, or you're even just trying to keep things at mid-range, toughness isn't necessarily a needed perk anymore. And I'm actually really happy to see this. This is a great result. I'm quite happy that we don't need toughness on every single one of our classes now. It is helpful in a lot of situations, like I said, but it's not needed. So now we can actually go out and we can use scavenger, we can use blast suppressor comfortably, and we don't have to worry about sacrificing toughness, or we don't have to worry too much about it anyways. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Let me know in the comment section below if you've tried going without toughness and with toughness, and what your thoughts were using toughness versus not using toughness. And if you haven't strayed away from using toughness yet, and you've just sort of stuck to the old habits of using toughness on every class, I highly recommend you give it a try for a few games, taking toughness off of your class, and see how much of a difference it makes for you. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.